Hey everybody, welcome to Crackback Tuesday number 150 on the Mana League. I'm John as always, and we've got Dominaria. This format is so good. Oh, it's so good. Anyways, we are going to crack this pack open, see what's in there, and see what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft. And this, of course, is a sponsored Crack-A-Pack. Every patron at the $5 level or above is eligible to get the cards in this pack. The rare, the uncommons, the token, all of them, none of them, whatever they want. I'll go chat with them. And this week, it is Joshua C. who is the lucky patron. So I'll chat with him on Patreon and find out what he wants. But we're going to crack it open and see what's in there. Up first, we have a Syncopate. Syncopate is X blue for an instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Syncopate's great. Syncopate is the kind of counter spell that I like because it's Censor on turn 2. It's whatever you want it to be later in the game. If Censor works, awesome. If you need a mana leak, awesome. I guess it's slightly more expensive than a mana leak. But yeah, Syncopate's solid. I'll play this in every blue control deck that I have, but I would never ever consider first picking it. Up next is Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental is 3 red for a creature elemental. It's a 5/4. That's the end of the story there. I've played more of these than I like. I'm not a fan of playing them, but I have ended up in blue-red wizards a few times and often trophied when it happened. But these are just kind of like crap. I didn't get 23 cards. I guess this one goes in. It's nowhere near a first pick, and you should generally cut it if you can. Up next is Dub. Dub is 2 and a white for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has first strike, and is a knight in addition to its other types. Remember everybody telling me about the knight deck that existed and me having to say that no, the knight deck only exists if you luck out and get one of the most expensive mythics in the set, or if you get a really, really, really good rare in 2 colors. There's no knight deck in the format. But Dub is still fine. You know, the cost here for +2/+2 and first strike is totally fine. This sucks when it gets thrown on a Danitha, because then it's only 2 mana for this. Yeah, this card is obnoxiously playable. It's one of those cards that you look at and it's just not good, guys, and yet it works too many times. It dies to so much in the format. There's so many ways to get yourself 2 for 1. But if you want to go high risk, high reward, Dub is the way to go, and I've done it more times than I'd like to count. Not a first pick, though. Up next is Divest. Divest is a single black mana for a sorcery. Target player reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature card from it. That player discards that card. This card is not a first pick. This card is not a card that you should even play. I don't like these cards. I don't like them. Like, you have to get something so good for this to in any way be worth a card in your deck. The fact that you might whiff, or you might get a short sword, or you get, I don't know, Bloodstone Goblin, I guess, not Golem. It's not good. It's not a first pick anyway, so we don't have to talk anymore about it. Up next is Grow from the Ashes. Grow from the Ashes is 2 and a green for a sorcery with kicker 2 generic mana. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, you get to go get 2. I think we talked about this last week. It's great. This lets you splash. This lets you splash for like 2 different colors if you want. I have definitely multiple times, a little bit more in sealed than in draft, been green, splash, blue, red, black, or splash, right, white, red, blue. Yeah, it lets you do a lot of stuff, and it's great. It's not a first pick, and it's not a ludicrously high pick, but as soon as you know you want to do some shenanigans, it's a solid pickup. Up next is Saproling Migration. Saproling Migration is a card that does some pretty serious work. 1 and a green for a sorcery kicker. For 4 generic mana, create 2 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. If it was kicked, you get 4. I like Saproling Migration quite a bit. I will play this in probably just every green deck. And the worst case scenario is you get a bear or you get a 4/4. And that's the worst case scenario. If you've got a Shauna gets huge. If you've got Wild Onslaught, you've actually got 2/2s or 3/3s. If you've got a Spore Crown Thallid, you've got 2/2s. If you've got a Slimefoot, you're draining life. There's so much that this card enables. It's just super duper duper good. I would first pick it if the pack was truly weak. Currently, it is the by far and large first pick in this pack. But I would predict this pack won't be the worst pack we've ever seen in our lives, and it won't be the first pick. But for now, I will keep it in frame. And actually, there's a Blink of an Eye, so let's just put that to the side. Blink of an Eye is 1 and a blue for an instant kicker, 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If it was kicked, draw a card. This is great. it's 2 mana bounce, which is 100% great. I would always play 2 mana bounce. And for 4 mana, I get to draw a card and replace it. Ugh, so good. Plus, it is non-land permanent. You can bounce a Saga if you desperately need to. You can bounce artifacts. You can bounce whatever you want. Yeah, Blink of an Eye is great. It is 100% a first pickable card in packs that are slightly weaker, that don't have, you know, unconditional removal or bombs. But yeah, it's solid. Card that's not solid is Seismic Shift. Seismic Shift is 3 and a red for a sorcery, destroy target land. Up to 2 target creatures can't block this turn. This is not good. 4 mana for up to 2 creatures can't block is just not worth it in any way, shape, or form. Especially when this sort of effect is frequently like 2 mana for the team or the team minus flyers. This one, I guess, it has to be expensive because it destroys a land, which is just never worth it. It's never worth it unless it's costing you like 1 or 2 mana. I've destroyed lands with Haphazard Bombardment. I was a massive jerk who got to cast that on turn 4 and hit 4 of their lands, or I guess 3 of their lands. But yeah, paying this much and spending a card on destroying a single land is just not worth it. Never, ever, ever let me see you playing that card. Up next is Aven Sentry. Aven Sentry's 3 and a white for a creature bird soldier. It's a 3/2 flyer. That's it. It's fine. Blue-White Skies is a very powerful deck. It's one that I've trophied with a couple of times, and this is kind of the lower tier of the cards that you're looking for that deck, but still totally fine. Not a first pick in almost every pack ever, but you know, kind of like 4th through 7th, I would start taking that and feeling pretty happy. Up next is, I believe, our final common. Cabal Evangel. Cabal Evangel is 1 and a black for a creature human cleric. It's a 2/2. It's bad. 2/2s for 2. They're not good in this format. They're just not good. There's blockers. There's a lot of 1/3s. There's stuff that deals with them real well. And if they do literally nothing and they don't even have a relevant creature type, you shouldn't play them. Not a first pick and not even a playable card. Our first uncommon is Memorial to Folly. Memorial to Folly is a land that comes in tapped. It taps for a black, and you can pay 2 and a black and tap it and sack it to return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Totally fine card. If I am in black, I will play one of these 99.999% of the time. The only way I wouldn't is if I was actually splashing for like 4 colors or something. But yeah, this is where I like this effect. I don't typically care about grabbing a card out of my graveyard to my hand because it costs me a card, but this doesn't really cost me a card because A, it's a land, so it's not even counted as one of the 23 cards in my deck, and B, it gets to do other stuff, and then when it's no longer useful, then I get to do it. So totally fine, not a first pick. Our second uncommon is also not great, Howling Golem. Howling Golem is 3 generic mana for an artifact creature golem. It's a 2/3. Whenever it attacks or blocks, each player draws a card. Don't go in for symmetrical effects like this. You're giving your opponent way too much of an advantage. It's just not good for you. And it's just a 2/3 for 3, which is undercost or overcosted for this format. Super not sold by Howling Golem. I've not played it, and I don't really ever want to. So goodbye, Howling Golem. Our rare for this pack, and I guess you just saw the uncommon legendary. Our rare is the Mending of Dominaria. 3 green for a rare saga. First and second act, you put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then you can return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. The third act, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, then shuffle your graveyard into your library. This card's surprisingly okay. I think I was a bit down on it during the set review, and it's not quite as bad as I thought. I've played it a couple of times to really good effect, actually, because it does usually draw you some creatures, which is great. And then it will hopefully ramp you a land or 2. It just always kind of works, but never works amazingly. This is a card that I want to see pack 2, pack 3, when I've already got some elves and I'm already going to ramp, and I'm going to get this out on like turn 4. But if I'm playing this later, it's just not that good. So I think it could be a first pick, but I'm not super sold on it being a first pick. We'll keep it in frame though. And the last uncommon, as you guys might have seen, as I'm trying out a new thing. You might have seen this last week as well. I'm keeping the cards on screen since these cards are going out to people, and I don't want to have any accusations of, oh, I opened a Karn and I shuffled it away. but it does lead to some spoilers like that, especially with this pack where the last card might not be the rare. Anyways, we've got Urgoros the Empty One. Urgoros the Empty One is 4 black for a legendary creature Spectre. It's a 4/3 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card at random. If that player can't, you get to draw a card. This card reads so good, and it just doesn't seem to get there ever, really. I think it's the 6 mana. 6 mana is a lot for just a 4/3 in this format. The effect sounds really good, but I've just never really gotten it to work. I don't think I'd ever really be happy first picking an Urgoros. I have played it a couple of times and it never got there. I've played against it a lot, and it's not typically ever gotten there. It got there once when it had +2/+2 from Arvad, which was dumb, but otherwise I'm not sold on Urgoros. I wanted to be. I had it pretty high in my set review, but we'll keep it in frame. The first pick here, I honestly don't know. The pack is a little bit weak. We don't have a bomb. We don't have any removal, literal 0 removal, and we got a bounce spell. So I think the super competitive pick is just Blink of an Eye. Blue, I think, is flat out the best color in the format, and Blink of an Eye goes in every single version of that deck. Urgoros has super unimpressed me, and Mending of Dominaria goes in a relatively specific deck. So I think I'm on Blink of the Eye. I could see Mending as well, though. Let me know what you would take in the comments down below. Would you take the Mending? Have you had good luck with Urgoros? Would you take Blink of an Eye? Let me know. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at @TheManaLeak. That's LEEK, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeak, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeak, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeak, where you can become a backer. And if you become a backer at the $5 level or above, you will be eligible to randomly receive all the contents of the Crack a Pack each week. So you won't be eligible for like next week. It does just charge once a month. But if you are in there before June 1st, when you get charged on June 1st, you'll be eligible for all the June Crack a Packs. So go check that out there. As always, click that thumbs up button, click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.